Hello, beautifuls. How are you tonight? I'm just hopping in for our day 3 live. As usual, if you'll give me just a moment, I need to make sure that everything is working and showing up correctly and all that fun stuff so that nobody misses a thing. I see a few people are popping on. It's great to see you. If you want to say hi and tell me who's on and how everything is going as I get prepared, that would be fantastic. I'd love to hear everything that's going on. And there we go. Like I mentioned, I am just going to make sure to share this in the group, get these links all set up. One of the joys of being on my own. Let's see. So if you want to tell me, what have you been doing so far this week?
Links all set up.
There we go. What have you been doing so far this week? Or anything that you're struggling with? Anything that was an aha moment that you really loved? Tell me all about what's going on. What are you discovering and enjoying or struggling with during the challenge? Now is the perfect time to do it. And I see, hi, Jana. Jana's here. I see Diane is here. Great to see you again, Diane. It's been a little while since I've seen you, I think. It's fantastic to see you. And I'm just going to double check my links as you tell me what's going on. There we go. It looks like I've got it there. And let's check it here. All right, I see I've got some love happening. Give me some hearts, give me some likes, all that stuff. If you're enjoying the challenge, and I'm gonna check my audio. Good, we can hear me. This is good. All right, I think we're good to go. It's still about one more minute. We're gonna let some people hop on and make sure that they can see everything and join in. And then we will officially start. Let me make sure that my computer is all set up for that. And it looks like we are good to go. Fantastic. So I also dropped any of the links that I'm expecting to talk about in the description here. Oh, thank you for the love. Thank you so much. It's great to see all of you. We've got more people joining as I speak, which is fantastic. I've got everybody is on through the group can see. That is good too. That's the important part as well, right? All right. So Diane, hey, you say, hi, sorry I've been out of action, had a really rough few months, but now ready to start again. You know, that's all that matters, is that you get back up whenever things are rough and bring you down, just get back up. So you're a trooper, Diane. It's great to see you again. Sorry you had a rough time, but I'm so glad that you're back with us. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Susanna Kay. I'm the owner of Spark Organizing. Primarily, I teach people to organize through bite-sized tasks so it never feels like this overwhelming project. I'm all about making it easy, making it as brainless as possible, taking the work out of it, and making it more fun through challenges and programs like Mind Your Home that just break it all down into little tiny bites. So if you're following me for the first time, hop on over. We have the Facebook group where I do all the challenges. I also have the challenge network that we're transitioning over to, since Facebook can be a little touchy at times, as we all know. And I've got all these videos that I'm doing this whole week because we are in the middle of the Conquer Your Papers challenge. And this challenge is focused all around handling those active incoming papers and then creating a system to make sure that you don't lose anything, that you can always find it, get rid of all the piles, give everything a home, and give you a path towards making it into a filing system. So no more piles, no more boxes, no more bags, no more laundry baskets full of papers, just solving all of those problems. And the way that we're doing it this week is through our action file. This just is a simple desktop file box. If you've been watching through the first couple days tasks, we've gone over how to build this, and we're on how to use it. And today we're talking about the to file folder within our action file and how to best use that. If you want to look back on any of the tasks within the Facebook group, they're in the units section. Within the challenge network, if you hit topics and you choose the paper challenge tasks, the challenge network will have the tasks even after the end of this weekend. In the Facebook group, that unit section is coming down simply because Facebook is not quite set up in the same way, so it's not so easy to leave them up the whole time, which again is why we're changing over to the challenge network slowly but surely. But either place, you can see all the tasks that we've done so far. You can build the action file, understand what it is, why I love it, and so many people love it. And that's the focus of the week. So tonight, we are talking about making sure that we have a file system for all of these to file papers to go into. Because we've got this fantastic folder, but when it gets full, what happens with all of these papers? And like I say, when it gets full, it gets filed. So this is not something where you have to file papers all the time, but whenever you have time or whenever it does start to get bulky is when you're going to grab the papers out of here and move them into your filing cabinet or whatever archive file system you have. So tonight we're going to talk not only about file cabinets and archive files, but we're going to talk about the organizing personality types. In the description of the video, I have the link to the organizing personality type quiz. And these are my personality types that I came up with just from working with people for over a decade and seeing all the different types of people that I work with. There was this commonality into these 4 groups of people had these main common core kind of needs. They had specific habits, they worked better in certain environments. So I put together these 4 personality types, and I've got a quiz to help you figure out which one you are in order to figure out what's going to work best for you. Because a lot of times we're going to books or we're watching videos and we're setting up the systems that they tell us to set up, but it might not be the system for our personality type. So it's destined to fail. Especially, I've got the inventor type. My personality type does not do well with traditional systems at all, which is why I got into organizing, because I realized that there were other ways to stay organized and trick myself into organizing when my ADHD inventor type personality brain is not naturally born organized. So go through those personality types and we'll talk about your type and how each type works best with a file system. How would you set it up? Some of you need color coding, some of you want alphabetized. You all work a little bit differently. So that's kind of the goal for tonight. We will talk about all of those file systems, and we're also talking a little bit more in depth about the Spark Life Binder, and I added on a bonus that will help with your filing systems. So with the Spark Life Binder, I've got a brand new bonus. I just added it today. And in fact, one person has already purchased it and gotten the bonus. There's 3 people who've already gotten the bonus, and it's limited to the first 50 people. So if you're interested in the Spark Life Binder, get it now if you want the bonus, because there's only 50 people that can get that first bonus, because I only have spots for 50 people in the bonus. But I'll talk more about that later, just giving you a heads up. But I'll talk about how to create your own Spark Life Binder too. If you don't purchase this one, that's okay. How to set up your own. All right, I see we have Susan. Greetings, looking forward to today's sessions. Yes, welcome Susan. We've got Jana. She's gonna be back at her mom's tonight. She's gonna take photos of her current pile and the boxes of paper. She's had a huge project at her mom's house with all the papers. Kelly is here. 4 banker boxes to go. Wow, only 4 left? Yay! Just set up everything in my living area so I can prod away at it all. Then it will be filing time. Jana says, this is the part I need. That is so common. This is one of the hot topics for sure. Yes, Jana asked, do the people that already bought the binder get the new bonuses? Yes, you do. Of course you do. I never like to give a bonus that I've not given to everybody else. And Jana, you already got part of this bonus when you initially bought, but you're welcome to participate again. And any other bonuses that come up, I will definitely share with anybody and everybody who's already purchased it. That's one of the things I enjoy having, is that I can keep sharing and keep giving. All right, so as I mentioned, first off, I wanted to talk about those personality types. And there are 4 main types, and you will probably have one primary type, and then you'll have at least one secondary type. Sometimes you'll be kind of in the middle of all 4, which is actually a good thing. I have a lot of people write to me in a panic, oh no, I'm all 4, what does that mean? That just means you're really flexible in the way that you can organize your office. There's no predominant way that you need to lean. So you pick what you prefer and what's working for you. Those people who are lucky enough to be right in the middle, you're super lucky. It's awesome. I see, hi Cheryl, hi Anita. So the 4 different personality types, you'll probably have at least one secondary. Focus on the primary and then adapt how the secondary needs to be. So for example, if you need a very rigid file system as your primary, but your secondary is a little bit more creative and does well with colors, try to incorporate that into it as well. And this is not necessarily you have to do it this way if you're that personality type. These are just ways to look at things a little bit differently and consider, because it might not be the traditional ways that you see in all the books and the magazines and you hear in the videos and, you know, the Marie Kondo ways. These are not necessarily for everybody. So the 4 types that we have, first off, and this is one of my primary types that join my groups, is my administrators. My administrators are my detail people. We love having administrators in our lives because they keep track of all the data, the details. They are precise, they're analytical, and they are accurate. So you are my information keepers. And that's why papers are so tough for you, because you want to keep even more papers than the rest of us want to usually. So my administrators, you can tell your administrator usually if you really get into the details and the accuracy, you want all the data, you don't mind repetitive tasks, you do really well if you can find a system and work within it over and over and over again. So you're more likely on the administrator side. Now, the problem with administrators, you can lean towards too much information and perfectionism, because you want to be accurate all the time and you want all the information that you can gather, because that's how you process the world, and everybody needs an administrator in their life for that reason, but it can overwhelm you. So as far as your file system goes, you do really well with a traditional filing system, but you need to kind of back off on getting too detailed and over-organizing. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, because I want to make sure to cover all of the personality types before I get really in depth. Another type is the counselor. We all know the counselors in our lives. These are the people that remember your birthday and go out of their way to tell you happy birthday, send you a message. They talk to you when they see you in the hallways. They like to connect. They like to be surrounded by things that make them happy and bring them joy, and they're very visual people. They really enjoy having things that are meaningful around them, and they love the connections between people and the connections between ideas and things and the emotions tied to them. So our counselors can often be collectors. They often like to collect memories around them, collect things that they find beautiful, things that tickle their fancy, all of that stuff. Our counselors are our connectors. And you do really well with those colorful things, and you're not very good at the whole out-of-sight systems. So we'll talk about that as well. We have, number 3 is our inventors. So in our group, we primarily have a whole lot of administrators and counselors. And I bet if you all post at the end, if you post what your personality type is in the group, I'm sure you're going to see a lot of administrators and counselors, and it's fantastic. We love you types. The inventors, we see a decent number of inventors because inventors love to learn new things. We're always trying new projects. We're the life of the party. We're outgoing. As you can see, I'm saying we because I'm an inventor. My primary personality type is totally an inventor. We are not detail people. Okay, we are not repetitive people, so we can build an amazing system, very detailed and intricate. We can build these fantastic systems, but if we have to work within that system afterwards, we get bored. We might lose our mind and die of boredom from doing something repetitive. So oftentimes we spend a lot of time setting up these beautiful systems and they don't work for us because they're just too much work. We don't do well with routine, so we need to kind of lessen that routine, make it more fun, keep it broad, keep it fast, keep it easy, because we have new things to learn and new things to get onto. We've always got some new adventure or craft or idea going on that we want to get to instead of doing the boring stuff. So inventors, you're a lot of fun. You're the idea people. You're the ones that keep us thinking about the future and bring us to new ideas and tasks, but you are not our detail people. So we'll talk about how to help you out too. And finally, we have the CEOs. Now that fourth personality type, the CEOs, this one we really don't have a whole lot in our group usually. We've got a lot of secondary types of CEOs. There's a primary and then CEO is the secondary, but most of this group is not the primary CEO. You know why? Because they are always on a path to success and getting things done, and they don't like to meander through anything. And we chat a lot in this group, and we encourage each other, and we love to be super warm and cozy and share ideas and chat. The CEO is not necessarily that way. They want to get things done quickly. They are usually very goal motivated. They want to reach that goal and achieve that success. They love successes and they love winning and they love being top of their game. So that CEO, usually you can recognize them because there's, status symbols around them, and not in a bad way, but things that they've earned and they're proud of. So it might be an expensive pen on their desk because they've gotten to the level where they can afford to have a really nice pen that they love. It might be plaques on the wall or awards around them. There are various things that CEOs use to show that they are proud of their success because they've worked hard and they've earned it. Now, our CEOs have a very hard time organizing because they do not want to be slowed down by things that they don't feel are as important. And filing does not seem very important when you have a major goal and something to win at. So CEOs have a tough time, but they're really good if they can delegate or make it easy. So those are the 4 personality types that we'll be talking about tonight. Like I mentioned, in the description of this video, I went ahead and I put the link to the personality type quiz. It'll give you your results about what type you are, what your secondary type is, and it'll also give you on the screen, and if you enter your email address to take the quiz, it'll also email you the brief summary of how to handle stuff and how to handle papers. It's just a really quick overview about 5 or 6 really key tips for handling stuff and papers. We'll go over some of them, but not all of them tonight. So I encourage you to take the test, get that email, and if you're a VOP member, then you can get a much more in-depth list of all of your types. That'll be over in the group for you later this evening, where you find out your personality type and your secondary type with the quiz. You'll get your email with the basics, and then over in the group, there's going to be a bonus of even more in-depth ideas and strategies and tactics for your specific personality type. So you get kind of an extra bonus, some of the maybe lesser known or other helpful tips. So Kelly says she is primarily an administrator and secondary is an inventor. I can see that in you because I've met Kelly in person and worked with her before. And yeah, I totally see that. Brenda says, I am all of them, but I don't actually accomplish CEO. You thought the test was only for the VOPs. The test is not for the VOPs, but the full, more in-depth information is for the VOPs. So originally I was just going to do the VOPs, but I really wanted everybody to be able to figure out the personality type. So I decided to kind of reduce the amount of information I was giving in all of the tips and give that as a little bonus to the VOPs. But I did want everybody to at least know their personality type and some of what's going to make it easier, because my goal is really to help you So I don't want anybody to not have an important piece of information. So yeah, that is why. Diane says she's back. Brenda's catching this on her drive to the gym. Yay! Welcome. I'm so glad. And then, yeah. So that's my comments. Feel free. I will occasionally hop back and forth to the comments. But let's just talk really quickly about the different file systems available, because today's task was to look at your file system, if you have one, and figure out if it's working for you. And if not, adjust it so that way it can handle your files a little bit better. And with the knowledge of your personality type, if you take the quiz, or even if any of these just resonate with you, and a lot of times you hear the descriptions, you're like, oh yeah, that's me. Well, now I'm going to give you a few ideas about which personality types work best with which filing types and archive file types. Pretty much all the types do really well with the action file, which is why I focus the entire week's challenge on the action file, because I've seen every single one of the types work amazingly well with the action file once they build that habit. It's just the archive files. It's hard to do a challenge on the archive files because everybody's needs are so different. So that's why we have kind of the extended, for the VOPs, the extended paper organizing and sorting, because I can be a little bit more one-on-one. You get more time with me and more question answering with me and more important information sorting during that extra week for the VOPs. So I hope that answers that question. All right, so filing types. We all know the filing cabinet. And I'm sure that when you say filing cabinet, you probably, like me, picture one of those old metal filing drawer cabinets with the drawers that kind of stick and you have to push the button in and it makes a lot of noise. I think we've all had one or still have one in our life, and they get full so easily. But that's one form of filing system, but it does not have to be the only form. Filing cabinets are fantastic for some of you detail people. So a CEO and an administrator do well with out of sight, out of mind. Now your secondary personality type might make it a little less so, but if you're strongly either one of those types, then out of sight, out of mind is not a problem for you usually. If you're an inventor or a counselor, I'm sorry to say, more often than not, you need to be able to see it, or you won't remember that it even exists, much less access it at any point in time. So the filing cabinets are fantastic for the CEOs and the administrators primarily. I don't love the file drawers, but if you've got a small space, then they can work. Just make sure that you can access them relatively easily, but they don't need to be in your primary space. Because remember, these are archive files. You're not accessing these every day. And now that you have your to file in your action file, that's a lot of the word file. Your file to file folder. That's a better way. Your to file folder in your action file. Now you won't be running back and forth to that file cabinet every day. You only need to grab this when it gets full or when you have time. So this way you're not going back and forth. It does not have to be in a super easy to reach place, but it does need to be accessible. So don't stick a bunch of boxes in front of it or you won't be able to file your papers. Now, I love the lateral ones, which is where the drawer is really wide and it pulls out just a little bit, because it's just easier to be able to access everything while standing in front of it, versus a file drawer where then you have to kind of maneuver around the side. And you also have to worry a little bit more about, tipping things, and the drawers don't always pull out as easily, but they can work fine. So within the filing cabinet type of system, administrators, you do really well to have that alphabetical filing style. So it starts with A, it goes through Z. The hardest thing for you is going to be figuring out what you want to name the files, because something like a car could be car, automobile, Honda. There's so many different things that you could name it. So that's where the alphabetical system breaks down a lot of times. And if a company changes its name, like our cable company does pretty much, it seems like every year, then if you've named it by the file name of the company, now you have to rename it, refile it, or you might forget and not be sure where to look. So be careful with your A to Z filing. Make sure that those names are as general as possible. Don't name something like the Bright House cable, just name it cable or name it utilities, anything like that, because that's less likely to change over time as much. Also, with you administrators, you might do really well with that A to Z traditional filing cabinet, but be careful not to over-organize. You can get way into the details and make it a much more difficult task than it needs to be. So start with the broader categories. Start with, one folder that's for all the utilities, at least to get it into the filing cabinet. Because when you're initially filing, if you set up 100 different file folders, it's going to take you forever to file, and you won't get through your filing project. You're going to end up stalling out partway through. It'll become overwhelming. It's exhausting, and you probably won't make it through because you'll run out of time. But if you start with broad categories, such as insurances, utilities, bank information, credit card information, and put everything that has to do with those categories in that filing cabinet in the broad categories, you can always go back and then create subcategories later. So you can always go back and add more detail later, but with the broad categories, you'll finish your filing project a lot faster. And if you stall out part way after you've gotten all these broad categories in, it's okay because it's all contained safely in your file cabinet. So be very careful, do not over-organize. If you have any questions, please feel free, like I said, drop them in the comments. If there's anything that I say that you like, please show me some love. I love to see the hearts and the thumbs ups. Show me all the love that you can throughout the whole video so that I know that you're listening and that it's making sense to you and if you're finding it interesting at all. Now our CEOs, like I mentioned, there aren't a whole lot of you here, but our CEOs also do well for file drawers, but it's better if you're minimal. Try not to keep everything because you want fast access to your files. And the faster you can get them or the faster you can file them, the better it is so you can get onto the things that you actually care about and love. Oh, there's some love. Thank you so much. That just keeps encouraging me. Thank you. But yes, so you want to keep it minimal. Just keep what you absolutely need. Go for the broad categories because if you go too detailed as a CEO, you're going to have a hard time finding things quickly or filing things quickly. So you'll put it off for later and it'll just pile up because you'll say, oh, I'm not going to do this right now. I have other things to do. I will do it later, and later never really happens. Now, CEOs do really well with paperless, though. So if you can just scan something and give it a really solid file name quickly, then the CEOs do amazingly well once you get used to that system. Oh, thanks for the love. Once you get used to your system of paperless, just naming them really well means that you can find anything in a search within minutes. And that works great for a CEO because that's what you want. Get it to me now. I don't want to search. I don't want to wait. Also, delegating, if you have any way to delegate things like filing or digital management or some of those more administrative tasks, delegate away. Find an administrator and hire them because they're amazing at it, especially if it's their job. They will go above and beyond. So that's for the CEO. Oh, so Jana says, great information. Thank you so much. Thanks for the love. I love you guys. All right, let's go on to my inventors. Oh, you inventors. I love you. I am you. And we're difficult when it comes to organizing because we are easily distracted and we don't like to be bored. So I'm going to say something that's a little bit crazy for our inventors. Maybe you don't need an archive file drawer at all. I don't even have one for myself. Yeah. So maybe as an inventor, you skip the file cabinet altogether. What I set up for the extreme inventors who put off organizing their papers and always want to do it later and just can't even be bothered because it's so boring. Maybe a file box, which is what I do, just one box of all the important papers. And as an important paper that you have to keep, now you have to stay minimal with this. You can't keep everything. So be brutal. But when important paper comes in that you do actually have to keep, put it in the important papers box. It does not have to be organized at all, because really, as an inventor, we don't go back to look for papers very often. We don't. Thankfully, I've got some CEO in me as my secondary, because otherwise I don't know if I could even teach organizing. But this is why I had to learn to be organized. But we don't go back to look for our papers very often. Most of the time we can't be bothered, so we Google it or we find another way to find it. So if you have to search through your box of important papers, then it's actually not that bad, because it's very rare that you have to do it. And when the box gets full, then you just go through and you shred anything that you don't need anymore, because most of the time it's full because we kept things that we didn't actually need, but we thought we did at the time. So consider that as an inventor. If nothing else though, at least as an inventor, get a nice big, maybe twice the size of this desktop type of file holder, or at least portable file holder, and do some really broad categories. And I'm talking super broad. So you might just have one that says finance, and anything financial goes into that folder. And you might have one that just says house. Anything that has to do with the house goes in there. So keep doing those really broad categories and you'll have a much better success rate as an inventor. Now, our final personality type, give me some love if you're a counselor, and if this is you, but is our counselors. Give me some hearts out there, counselors. Our counselors love things to be fun and vibrant, and they want things to be easy because they would much rather spend time with people and figuring out interactions and social things. Our counselors are the people who are the glue that keeps us together as far as our relationships and keeps us all connected. Oh, there are my counselors. There's my love. Thank you, counselors. I'm speaking to you. You all are so much fun. I see Karen says that she's thinking she's a counselor and listening for ideas that apply. So many boxes of systems that she started that went by the wayside in a file cabinet and file drawers in my desk. Clearly a lot of trash and shredding to be done. Oh yeah. Well, counselors, you are sort of in between the inventor and the administrator, really. So that file drawer may or may not work for you. If you forget and rarely actually go to the file drawer to file things or to retrieve things, then this is probably not the best use for you. You might want to do a file box or some kind of a wall file system, something a little bit more alternative. And there's my counselors again. There's my love. Thank you, counselors. Yes, so for you, I would say if you are going to use a file cabinet, super broad categories again. So you want to do insurances. You don't have to be as broad as the inventor, because inventors are their own special, unique birds. There you go. They stand out from the flock. You counselors, though, need the broad categories, so your insurances, everything that has to do with maybe utilities, everything that has to do with maybe house purchase would go in one, and then maybe house maintenance would go in another. Keep showing me the love if this is resonating with you. Counselors, group them as broadly as you can so it's easy. And I love with the counselor to use color. So usually what I'll do is I'll assign one color to a main category of file types. Like maybe all the medical information is going to be in a blue folder. I always use blue because we got Blue Cross Blue Shield around here. It's common, so I think blue. Everything finance, I might put in green folders. And then I put them next to each other. So when you open that drawer, you counselors can quickly see what area to start looking in, because you'll get used to seeing those colors and you'll know, okay, finance, green, and you easily spot the green and can start looking in that section, and it narrows things down so you don't have to do as big of a search. So grouping things by color, those categories by color, all of your medical, all of your financial, anything like career and education can be one color, that type of thing. Just group it and make it colorful and make it broad, and you're going to do a lot better, counselors. I love it. Look at all that love. We have a lot of counselors out there. And I see Jenny Jones says, yes, cars. Oh yeah, the cars, those files are rough. Karen gave me a thumbs up, and Linda says, gosh, you must have seen my son's room. He doesn't live here currently, so I've got his bed totally covered with papers, broken down into mini categories, as well as the desk in his room being cluttered. We won't tell him. Have a very difficult time finding what I want. Need to do broad categories first. Obviously, I never thought of broad categories. Yes, and Linda, I don't know if you're an administrator or if you're a counselor. It sounds like you might be one or the other, but at least the first pass of broad categories gets them combined, and then it's easy to take that one category and make it into smaller categories if it still bothers you. You might find that those broad categories are enough. Thank you so much for the love. I'm glad that this is resonating with you guys. This makes me happy. Jenny Jones says, that is me to a T. Yes, finance green, money, utilities red. Ooh, I like utilities red. That's easy to find. So those are our personality types and the different types of ways that we can set up our file systems to be successful with our personalities. So if you've not taken the quiz yet, if you're watching the video, you probably haven't, then after the video ends, hop over the quiz and then go over to the Challenge Network and let me know what personality type you are. I'd love to hear what kind of a mix we have in the group, and it also helps you connect with each other. It's fun when you're an administrator and you see some other administrators and you can start chatting, because you're probably going to be able to share some tips and ideas and things that have worked for you that will work really well for them because you're the same type, versus when you post and some people give you an idea and you're like, oh, that doesn't really sound like it would work. They might just be a completely different type. So this way you can connect with each other as well. Thank you so much for the love. I love it. It's fantastic. So like I mentioned, those are our personality types. Now the other thing that I find that works so well for administrators and counselors, if you're doing paperless, then the paper policy, even if you're not doing paperless, the paper policy that I shared, the link, if you're a VOP, the link to a download of it, but that we talked about yesterday, really works well for you to remember what you've decided in the past as far as your papers. You do well with those types of systems and recording information and looking back. If you're an inventor, don't bother with paper policy. You will set it up and then get bored and not refer back to it unless you have a very strong secondary. I see Jessica joined us. Welcome, Jessica. I'm glad that you're here. So finally, for each of the different personality types, I wanted to cover really quickly how to use the Spark Life Binder or create your Spark Life Binder, because it does work for every personality type, but you might want to approach it a little differently depending on what type you are. Janice says, pretty much think I have all four. Oh, you're lucky, Janice. I hope you have all four. It's nice because then you can pick and choose just what works for you. So really quickly, I mentioned last night pretty quickly about the Spark Life Binder, and I know that some people have already gotten the Spark Life Binder either in the last challenge months and months ago, or I've already had a few people buy the Spark Life Binder. Like I mentioned, I have a bonus. If you buy the Spark Life Binder and you're one of the first 50 people, and right before I hopped on, I don't know now, I might have more, but right before I hopped on, 3 people have already purchased it. So if you're one of the next 47 people to buy it, you will get free admission to my Ultimate Papers Workshop. And that will be on October 3rd, a live workshop online. It will be live, and I will be going over with just the 50, the room capacity is 50. I can't accept more than that, but just those 50 of you, I will be going over even more in depth how to organize your file cabinet. You will have taken your personality type quiz, and we're going to go into some super specifics. I will teach you about self-purging files, which are amazing. Self-purging files are basically file folders in your archive system that clean themselves out. There's ways to set up these recurring like triggers that will clean out your file. Yes, I see a lot of hearts. You're loving it. I'm loving it too. They're amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this Ultimate Papers Workshop is only available to the first 47 people because 3 have already gotten it. So make sure to sign up. If you're going to get the Spark Life Binder, do it before that's done and gone. Also, if you can't make it on October 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, forget which one we are, it's okay. You get the full recording afterward. Whether you attend or not, you get the full recording so you can watch it again if you need to. And if you do attend live, I give you a cheat sheet for each personality type of exactly how to set up your file cabinet. I tell you what to label your file folders and in what order to put them in. So you can take it as a template and either copy it exactly, or you can adjust it and make it your own. But it makes it completely brainless. All you have to do is just copy it. So if you do get your Spark Life Binder, like I mentioned, the next 47 people or fewer possibly, because I've not been able to see since I hopped on here, I'll be updating. I have to manually update the number on the page for the Spark Life Binder. It says how many are left. I'll be manually updating that as we go. So the Spark Life Binder, I see Cheryl says, I got the binder at the last paper challenge. My husband passed away right after and stalled my progress. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Cheryl. Yes, then you will probably want to hop in with the Spark Life Binder if you wanted to. If you're a VOP, we're focusing a lot on completing our Spark Life Binders also during that second week of the Papers Challenge in the VOP membership. That might help you kind of just get a jump start on it. So thank you for all the love, people. Oh, you make me so happy. I love you guys. You make my life so fun. But okay, so Cheryl, that is probably what I'd say. Try to hop into the VOP membership if you can, because week 2 of the Papers Challenge, which starts on Monday, we're going to also cover a bit of the Spark Life Binder, whether you own it or if you're setting up your own. And if you're setting up your own, you won't have all the categories and all the easier parts of it, but you will be able to ask questions and be involved. Karen says hi. Hi, Karen. And Jenny says, I have a corkboard where I've been putting the awesome tips from here. Oh, that's wonderful, Jenny. I'd love to see a photo. If you share a photo with me, that would make me happy. Fantastic. So the Spark Life Binder, as I mentioned, you can set up your own, or this is just the easy button. Either way, the important papers and information, the stuff that if you could not lay your hands on it quickly, would cause major problems, or if something, God forbid, happened to you and you were no longer here, that your relatives would know all the information that they need. I've had so many people who have been through such a hard time trying to find the information that they need while they're grieving over losing somebody. So while you're grieving over losing somebody, is the last thing you need to do is be looking through their papers to figure out if they have an insurance policy and where they kept various documents. This will help you communicate all of that information to your loved ones as well, if you choose to share it. You don't have to share it with them. I mean, if you don't want your relatives to know that you even have it, that's fine, but this makes it easier. I see Andrea just hopped in. She says, I'm so late, I'll watch the replay, no problem. And Kelly says, I made an extra copy of my binder so when I need to change a page or more, I can. Yes. So the Spark Life Binder, the nice thing is this is actually a download. So I don't mail you the binder. I let you pick the binder that you like, and I email you a download so you can print it immediately. You just hole punch it and stick some dividers in if you want. And I even, just like the action file, I give you a list of the supplies I use. I don't make any money off of that list. It's just a list of the supplies that I used to put together my life binders. So it's super easy to order right off of Amazon. But I give you the download, and these are the different categories of information that you want to make sure as you're filing to collect. Because if these are just in your file drawer, A, they take a bit longer to get to. B, you might miss something that you did not realize that you needed. Like you might not have even thought about setting up a healthcare surrogate or a living will, or deciding who's going to care for your animal once you're gone, things like that. So this kind of is that trigger. It will basically be asking you all these questions. It doesn't ask questions. It's got the fill in the blank areas, and you'll see what you might be missing. So it's hard to get to quickly. You might be missing some things. And then also, your family might not know where to find things once you're gone. So the third thing is, if you do have anybody who would handle your estate after you're no longer here, or if something happened and you're unable to communicate, then this has it all in one place for them. So, and Rita asked, Susanna, can we edit the PDF file? You can edit all of the fields, so you can type in your entries into the fields. You can't edit the actual form itself, because I don't want people to accidentally delete part of it and then have to start all over. I tried that once when I first started with clients with this. It was, yeah, no. But you can edit all the fields. So when you open the PDF document, you will see the different pages, and it's kind of like a form that you would fill out. This is just one of the parts with the contact information. And all of these lines you can type in within the PDF and you can save it. So what I usually do, and the administrators and the counselors and the CEOs will be good at that. And I thankfully have some CEO in my personality type, so I can manage it too, but I don't do it as consistently as some of you amazing administrators do. But you can go in and you can use the computer to type in the information and then save it. And in my life binder, what I've done, and I have a link to this in the supplies. If you purchase it, then I give you the supplies link too for free. This is a USB drive, and I just clip it to the inside of the binder. So my life binder that's got all the information saved that I've typed in is right here. So if I need to reprint a page, if I need to adjust something, if I need to add more information and print it, it's all right here, so I don't have to find where I saved it. And I know that it's safe. I have a backup because I never just trust one copy of anything digital. I've seen too many things disappear when hard drives or USB drives crash. I do keep a backup of it on my password saving site. It's in the cloud, but it's a super, super secure. It's called LastPass site, and I keep a copy of the file that I update every once in a while, like maybe once a year, basically when I think about it. Then I update that just as a backup. But this is what I use. So yes, you can update all of the fields, you can reprint them, you can change them around. Like Kelly said, she keeps an extra copy of her binders that when she needs to change a page, then she can do it quickly. If you're going to handwrite it, then that works out absolutely fine. There is no need, if you're more of a handwriter, you don't have to type into it. You can just print it and handwrite on any of these pages. So I hope that answers your question. But basically within the life binder, you will see that each section has things to fill in. So this is the information that you'd be looking for. Right now we're just on the contacts page. But for example, part of the emergency instructions, organ donor, and if you have limitations to your organ donation, you can also write in where you're registered, you know, the site. If you have an organ donor ID number, you can write your blood type. You can write your local emergency contact and your family emergency contact, including their cell phone, their work phone, their email. You can include your identification numbers. So this is a binder that you will probably want to keep it if you're not keeping it completely digital. Some people only do digital, and that's fine. But if you want to keep a hard copy of it, which I do because I want to be able to grab and go, especially with hurricanes and emergency trips to the hospital, all sorts of random things can come up. So I like to grab and go if I need to. But keep this where people can't easily see it. So what I often advise people to do, you can keep it maybe behind a bookcase or behind your desk. You can label it something that nobody would look at. If this was labeled chemistry notes, if you're a bit younger, or if this is labeled, you know, quilting patterns, if somebody breaks into your house, they're not going to likely pull out your binder that's labeled quilting patterns to see if there's anything in there that's interesting. You can keep it in a fireproof safe. That's a great place for it. There are several places that you can keep this. You can even keep it in a completely different room where nobody would ever look for a binder and hide it, tuck it behind something. You can tuck it behind the books on a bookshelf. Sometimes I've seen people do that. So keep it out of view of people and protect it because it does have vital information. Just that's my note. I personally keep mine tucked away in a spot that nobody would ever think to look. especially because I talk about the fact that I have one so much that mine is in a place that I can pretty much guarantee nobody's going to find. So each of these sections is going to have the important information that you need to make sure to gather as you're filing, because you want to be able to put your hands on it quickly and communicate it quickly to other people versus putting it in your file cabinet. You can create file folders for each of these topics and just put these in a file folder. Some of you administrators might want to do that, but for the most part, my administrators love, love, love this. You can also, instead of hole punching, you can do sheet protectors, whatever you want. I see in the comments, Jenny says, I worked for a lady who had a when I die file. Very practical, but at the same time, I was shocked. That's hilarious. Yeah, you can name it something shocking like that if you wanted to. And I love her sense of, not concerned about the fact that, yep, she will die one day. That's so cute. But yes, this actually will go into one of the sections. Section number 3 is end of life arrangements. And it will ask you questions about what you want for your funeral or how you want things to be handled. So let's see if I can pull some of it up. It includes funeral arrangement information. If you have any prepaid funeral or plot services. I worked with one woman who had written out her own obituary, chosen all of the songs that she wanted played at her funeral, picked out the flowers that she wanted to be at her funeral. She had it all and extremely detailed and wanted to make sure that people knew exactly how she wanted that funeral to be, which this was amazing for her. So you can even put your sample obituary, headstone wishes, funeral specifications, that playlist. In lieu of flowers, charity information. If there's a charity that you would like people to donate to instead of flowers, hospice, elder care information, all of that type of stuff is in that end of life section. Because if we've not had that conversation with our relatives, they might not know. And in a time of grief, the last thing that we want for them is for them to be uncertain of what we wanted and to be scared that they're doing something that we would not want. So that's a great section to share with the people who are important to you so that they know. And if you don't care about certain things, you write that in there too. There's certain things I don't care about. I want them to do what they want. So to be able to see that I wrote, do what you want, I don't care, is going to be a big relief when that time comes. So yeah, there you go, Jenny. It's right in here. Rita says, genius, haha, love this. Jenny says, I love LastPass. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. I did an entire LinkedIn learning course on it at one point. Rita, yes, in your craft room. In the craft room is a great place to store this. Joanne sent me some love. I see all the love coming. Thank you so much for all that love. And then, oh, Rita, this is making me tear up. Too much reality. Yeah, there is some reality, but there's also fun stuff in here. So let's stop talking about the reality part. Let's talk about, it's got section 1 is all of your basic information. So you need somewhere to store that social security number, the social security card, if you don't already have it stored somewhere. Mine's in my fireproof box. Birth certificate, military ID, all of that information. This is where you would gather it into one spot. You can either keep, what I say is I don't usually, unless you're putting this in a fireproof safe, I don't save the original with this. But I would save a photocopy with this if you want to, or I just write on that page where it's stored. And some of the fields will ask, where is it located? So you can just write down where somebody would find it if they need it, because heaven forbid there's a fire and you just have this behind your bookcase. There goes all of your important documents. But having a photocopy is great, or where it's located. And then you can have that in a fireproof safe or a safe deposit box, somewhere that's much more secure for fires and emergencies like that. Now, I do have the emergency binder that I'll tell you about real quick in a minute, and that's where I keep things like a DNR or things that you would need the actual physical copy of the original. Section 2 is medical, so it has things like your healthcare providers, your current healthcare providers. You can even list past ones if you wanted to know where records are kept. Medical history documentation, it's going to walk you step by step through what medical information you might want to have recorded so you can look back at if you need to check out what happened when or certain events, and that you can tell people about if you need to. I already mentioned the Section 3, end of life arrangements. Section 4, finance and insurance. So this is where, where do you bank? What's your bank account number? What's the phone number for the bank? Do you have any cash assets somewhere else? Did you hide $100 under your mattress? Do you have a safe deposit box somewhere that there's cash in it? You would list cash assets there, including, you've got investments. So stocks and any investment accounts that you might have if you have an actual stock certificate. Thankfully, they don't give out a whole lot of those anymore, because I got so stressed out when I'd find, somebody pass away, and I always shuffle through the books because people tuck things in books like crazy. And I found real stock certificates tucked in a book. So this is where you would also mention, look in the books. Insurance policies, what's the policy number? What's the phone number? What's the policy provider? And where's the policy located if you wanted to list where it's at in your file drawer? Section 5 is real estate and personal property. So in there, you would list what real estate you own and the details about that real estate. Also, if you have any personal property that's important, storage units, safe deposit box. If you have an important piece of art that's valuable, if you have a valuable antique, some jewelry that's of value, you want to make sure that people know that that's in the house, so that way during an estate sale, they don't forget to pull that out and make sure that it actually is valued at what it is, or even more importantly, if it has some sort of a family history, let them know, because they might not realize it or remember it during that time. Because it can be overwhelming when you've got a whole house to go through to remember what's important. And this can be their kind of step-by-step, these are the things to grab out of the house, and this is why. Thank you for the love. Thank you. We have the legal and official records in Section 6. So it's any legal information, contracts, things like that, if there's anything out there. And then we've got the resources and notes. We actually also have, in here, there's a place to record information about your pets. And you can also print up one contact information and medical section per person. So if there's more than one person in the house that has different information, just print the section again and label it for that person, because that's really common. I have, in mine, contact information for me, and then for my moose pie, that's my husband, Jeff, and for our stepdaughter, we each have our own section. At the end, there's, resources and notes. So there's a checklist of the how long to keep important papers. I've got a full checklist for that. I also often use a checklist for emergency preparation, a disaster preparedness checklist for if this type of disaster happens, this is what you do. Any type of resources that you would want to grab and go can go in the back there too. But sometimes they give out bonuses that are checklists to add to your resource section. And also, every once in a while I update the life binder. So if you purchase it, then if I do an update, you automatically get the update. I'll probably be actually adding a few more things in within the next month or so. So there will be an update coming out where I'll just shoot you the whole file again and specific pages probably to make it easy for you to just print off just what updated. Thank you for the love. Oh, you're awesome. Thank you. So, and then also within the Spark Life Binder, I have a checklist of everything in each section. And then you can check off as you have completed each of these things, which is a great way to make sure that you're not missing anything important, like a living will or a healthcare surrogate or a copy of your voter ID card, anything like that. So you can use that checklist to make sure as you go through the Spark Life Binder, you can see what you might still be missing. And it's a quick visual instead of having to flip through the pages. Now, let's see. I have Jenny Jones says, so comprehensive. Yeah, this is over a decade of putting together, because I actually started doing a version in Microsoft Excel for clients way back when I saw how much stress they had just because they could not find these important papers, or they were worried that they would not be able to put their hands on it easily. So I created my first version of this over 10 years ago, and I've been refining it ever since. And last year I finally decided, I would really like to be able to share this because it's so helpful for my clients. It finally occurred to me that I could share this and put together something for other people to be able to use and benefit from. So this was actually built out of utility for clients, and it was not something that necessarily I built in order to sell. Originally, I just sold it to my clients when I worked one-on-one with people back in the day. So Jenny says, sometimes you need the original insurance policy document to make a claim. Yes, that's why you can definitely write where it's at in the file cabinet if you'd like. Now, depending on the type of insurance, some insurances you do not need it, especially the ones that are primarily online now. A lot of times auto insurances and homeowners insurances don't need the original policy. A life insurance policy, though, you probably would need the original. So depending on the different type of policy, stating where that original policy is really good to do. So that's a good point to make, Jenny. Rita says, wow, that's amazing how much detail it has gone in. Oh my goodness, yeah. This is, every time I thought of something new, I added it. And then I mentioned that it does also come with the emergency binder as part of that download. So the emergency binder is what you would grab if you're running to the hospital for something, or even just to go to a doctor's appointment. I'll go through really fast, and then I'm going to do a kind of a quick how to manage your important information for your personality type, because each type would work with the Spark Life Binder a little bit differently, or if you're creating your own binder, you probably need a different technique to create it. But the emergency medical folder, this is just a plastic folder that I use, and this is in case I need to run to the hospital, or if something were to happen and the ambulance came and I was not able to communicate, this tells them everything. I don't have to remember a thing. So within here, there's emergency instructions. Any new or changed prescription information is in here. Business cards for the current doctors, or any business cards for healthcare people or contacts. A current photo of yourself, and listing of emergency contacts, copies of important medical and legal documents, including power of attorney. You can put the power of attorney in here. DNR instructions. It has to be, it even tells you that you have to print a DNR on yellow paper or it will not be accepted as official. So that note is on there. Living will, authorization paperwork, medical directives, and emergency notes, including if there are any pets in the home that will need care and who to contact in order to provide them care if you end up in the hospital or something. You'll see I usually add pockets, because those prescriptions, when you get a new prescription, I already crossed off so you can't actually see anything, but I take that slip that comes with my prescription and I just throw it in the pocket. So that way, super easy way to record exactly what prescription I'm on. It tells the amount, it tells the prescription, it tells any adverse effects or interactions, it tells what doctor prescribed it, tells when. Everything is listed right on there. So I just tuck that right in to the folder within my emergency binder. And then each person has their own tab. So that's why a picture with me is on the tab right for Susanna. And then a picture of my moose pie is on the one for Jeff's. And then he would have his information there. And then in the back, I just throw one of those business card holders. This is obviously not my personal one. This is a sample one, and then I just throw a really big pocket in the back, especially because if you do take this to a doctor's appointment or the hospital or something, it's a great spot to just tuck the paperwork in when you're done, so you can deal with it when you get home, and they give you a lot of papers. So all of that's in here. Your medical insurance information would be in here, ID numbers, all of that, which helped me so much when I ended up in the hospital recently. My husband did not have to ask me what my social security number was or if I was on any prescriptions. He could just look right in here and I could focus on being the sick person that I was. So super helpful. Kelly says, I keep my latest blood work in it too. Yes, if you would have a need to refer back to your latest blood work, which I've been in times where I've needed that as well, having the latest copy in here is fantastic. You can just take that to the doctor. I've had so many doctors' offices and nurses tell me how amazing this is. They always ask me, you know, where I found it, how I came up with the idea, and I get like a gold star. I feel like I'm, you know, the star student. So doctor's offices love this because it gives them all the information they need. Debbie's here. Hi, Debbie. It's great to see you. So the last thing I wanted to go into super fast was the personality types with a life binder and managing important information. So you administrators, you're going to have no problem with this at all. You can just go through page by page, fill in what you have already, and knowing you'll probably post-it tab it or create a list or use your checklist to highlight what you still need. And most likely you will then go and find that information relatively quickly. You will make it a mission to do that because you guys are just so good at the details. So this is set up super easy for the administrators. I'd say with administrators though, don't worry about making this a massive project. Actually, all personality types. This is not a project, it's a process. So this is not something that you buy the life binder and then worry about when you're going to finish it. I did not finish mine right away. It took me a couple of years to really finish mine. And I'm always adding new stuff. So what I say to do is print it out and set it up. And then as you find the information, especially now while you're sorting and filing things, but as you find the information, add to it. And you don't even have to get super detailed during the first pass if you don't want to. You don't necessarily have to, you know, scan things and photocopy things and make it all perfect. Just get the information in at the first pass and just as you find it. If you know where to grab something from, go ahead and grab it out of your file cabinet and fill it in. But if you're not sure, just leave it blank and use the checklist within the Spark Life Binder to know what you're still missing, to keep your eyes open for, or to request a new copy of if you've lost it. So, not a project. This is something where the only part of the project you need to do is simply print it up and stick it in a binder. It does not even have to be the finished product of a binder. Just print it up. And then as you come across things, fill in the information. So you administrators do not make this into a massive project and don't feel guilty about not finishing it immediately. Like I said, it took me 2 years to really finish mine because I made sure not to drive myself crazy with guilt. Kelly says, you are our organizer queen. Thank you, Kelly. Debbie, hi, Debbie. She says, sorry, I'm late. And then Paula says, that is me. I totally get that. Yep. I love you guys. Counselors, you will probably have a lot of fun making this like fun and making it your own and making it personalized. I'd say don't get so caught up in finding, you know, the cutest dividers and perfect binder and making it all perfect with different colored pens and things like that, that you don't actually finish it or get it filled in. So don't go too crazy making it yours. You can find things that will do to start with and then swap them out for things that you like better along the way later. So if you add just basic dividers, whatever the 10-cent dividers that Staples or Office Depot have, throw those in there, get it started, and then upgrade it as you can. Just actually get it started. And also try not to get too distracted with the rabbit trail. So as you come across information, what I'd say, this is for the counselors, the inventors, and the CEO. I know the administrators, if you like digital, you'll actually open up the PDF, type it in, print it out, put it back in the binder right away. You guys will instantly do that. But what I do, and I recommend for especially like the CEOs, the inventors, and somewhat of the counselors, just hand write stuff on the pages as you find the information. So if you happen to have your voter ID card come in or you come across it, just grab a pencil or a pen and hand write it. Even if the rest is typed and printed, hand write it in or cross off the old information and hand write it in as soon as you come across that information. And then later, when it starts to look too messy and it bothers you or you have time, then you can hop over and put that USB in and type it all up and print it up nice and get it all updated. But don't hold off on updating it just because you want to make it perfect and pretty and detailed. Just handwrite stuff in it, make it messy for a while, then go back, regroup, make it nice, and do it again. And inventors, I will tell you, inventors, and counselors, if you have more of the inventor qualities, do not put this in page protectors. You administrators and maybe you counselors will love page protectors because it keeps it nice and pretty and keeps it from getting damaged. Inventors, if there's a page protector over the piece of paper, then I have seen you do two types of things. Well, three. I've seen you not do it at all because it looks like too much work, so you'll do it later. I have seen you, actually two types of things. There's only still two. So not do it at all. Or I've actually seen you inventors grab a Sharpie and write on the page protector in the spot where it would go on the page. Because we don't do well if there's any form of block. So just hole punch it. You can get these little, what are they? Page protecting things like this. What do they call them? Reinforcements. You can get those. And if a page starts to get wonky and fall out, just throw those on. But do not put any page protectors on your pages if you are an inventor. CEOs, you too for the most part, because if it takes too long to do, then you probably won't do it. Anybody who's thinking that it's just going to take too long, skip the page protectors because it's so easy to reprint these. There's no need to do that. CEOs, you might even want to delegate this, but you also would be pretty good at keeping this paperless because then you can just make a pile of the important information, and next time you're on your computer in LastPass or near your computer with the USB, you can hop in, type it, and then be done with it, because a lot of times you don't like to shuffle around with things and you want the information like that. The nice thing is if it's somewhere like LastPass, then even if you don't have your binder with you or the USB, you can access it from anywhere, and CEOs like that. CEOs like that if there was an emergency and you're not at home, because often you're off, conquering the world, then you can log into LastPass and find that information in case of an emergency. So that's what I'd say, CEOs, try not to do the page protectors and try to keep it digital. But everybody, do not make this a project because it's not. This should not take a lot of time. This is one of those things, the only time that you need to spend up the start is putting it together, and you don't even need to make it its final fancy form. Just slap it together, start entering information as you find it, and do not pressure yourself. Because if you just enter information as it trickles in, especially if you've got in the action file, sometimes when people first get their Spark Life Binder, they will add another folder simply for their Spark Life Binder within their action file if you have a lot of papers, or they put it into the to enter folder because you want to enter it in your Spark Life Binder. So then whenever you're going through your to enter, you get it entered in. But don't make it a massive project because nobody wants another project. Nobody has time. I know I don't. So I hope that helps. As I mentioned before, I don't know how many spots are open on the website. It probably still says 47 because I have to manually update that. But there are only 50 spots total available for that Ultimate Papers Workshop. That's the free bonus for the first 50 people who buy the Spark Life Binder, and there have already been some people who bought it. So if you're interested, get it now, because that workshop, even if you can't attend live, you will still get the full recording to keep. Thank you so much for the love. Thanks for the love. You'll get the whole recording to keep, and it's going to help you go even deeper into your file cabinets and your drawers and get you all set. Jenny says, I have such a stationery stash already. And she says, I love those erasable ink pens if I write something that needs to be updated later. Oh my goodness, Jenny, you and me, girl. I have it right here, Friction. The Friction clicker. Normally, I don't use black. Oh, I've got two. See? This is the one I normally use. I'm a purple girl. I write everything in purple. But yes, these are erasable, and they don't have the eraser gum that comes off. So they actually erase clean, not like those, I don't know if any of you remember those old erasable pens, but I used to use them in school, and my whole side of my hand would turn the color of the ink as I rubbed my hand over the paper, and these don't do that. So you and me, Jenny, I love these. I swear by these. I should buy stock in the Friction, I guess it's Friction, yeah, Pilot. Pilot, Friction by Pilot. Should buy stock in Pilot. So if you have any questions, you just sent me off on my tangent, rocket books and friction pens. Feel free, leave them in the comments, post them in the group, take the personality quiz and post your results in the group. I would love to be able to see what type of mix we have, how many administrators and CEOs and inventors. I'd love to see if there are very many CEOs or inventors, what your secondary one is. I would love to hear all of that. And I'm just reading the last few comments. Everybody keep going so well. I know that Kelly has been doing amazing with sorting her papers, and I've heard several people who just during the video have gotten things sorted out into their action files and conquered their piles, which is awesome. Yeah, keep going. I know, and also Jenny, if you get a chance, I would love to, seriously, if you wanted to, felt comfortable posting in the group, I would love to see your corkboard. That just fascinates me. That's so exciting. I'd love to hear also what stands out for you. So if you can do me a favor, in the comments tonight, let me know if there's anything that I said tonight that was either an aha moment or that really resonated with you. What tip would you say stood out the most for you tonight that gave you inspiration, made you think that you wanted to do something, gave you an idea, got you over anxiety, something? So post those in the comments. I would love to hear them because it helps me figure out what is helping people, that what tips are helping people the most, so that I can make sure to share them with people and with you as reminders, because there's so many times where we see a great tip and then we forget it later. So this way, even when you're following in the group, maybe I'll be posting that as a reminder. So post that in the comments, or even just in the group as just a post in the group. Say, you know, my favorite thing from day 3 video was, and enter the tip or the advice that really resonated with you. I hope that this helped you out. I always love, love, love talking with you. You are so amazing and you just light up my life. So keep being wonderful. Keep going. No matter if you've gotten nothing done for the action file, it's okay. Keep taking steps forward. The fact that you are watching the videos and reading the tasks means that you are mentally still taking steps. So take one bite at a time and you will get there, because you deserve it. You are amazing. You deserve all the good things. And keep going. I love you. I will see you all tomorrow. Post your tips and takeaways in the comments, and I love you.